1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Royal Blue Podcast Sound Check. Friday show live. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hello and welcome to the Royal Blue Podcast. It's the Friday show live and I am your host Ian Croll. Joining me in the Royal Blue studio today to talk all things Everton, we have Paul Wheelock. Paul, a while since you've been on the show, but all good?
Yeah, a lot changed, hasn't it? Since
A
been on last.
lot has changed.
Yeah, but I'm all right, mate. Yeah, not bad at all.
When was the last time you were on the show? Can you remember?
Deitch was definitely in charge. We probably haven't scored in a long time. I think I was on with yourself and Gav, and I think it was him during that run where it was just a bit dull before we started really losing games as well. It was definitely earlier this season, but yeah, not much has changed, has it, sadly?
A bit dull. You could be talking about
exactly.
Any
The results haven't changed too much, but obviously there's a lot changed in terms of off the field. So the new owners come in, and obviously David Moyes back. But yeah, it's good to be back anyway.
Yeah, good to have you on. Connor, second appearance of the week. This has got to be a new Connor O'Neill record.
I think it is, yeah. I think it is. I mean, the viewers will be fed up of hearing my voice by the end of the day.
No, absolutely not.
Back again for round number 2 after round 1 on Wednesday afternoon.
Definitely, yeah. And obviously you were there on Wednesday. Did you go as well, Paul?
Yes, mate,
fine.
yeah.
I know you were in the press box, weren't you, Connor? We'll have the final words. We'll give Connor and Paul the final words on Villa. But today's agenda, we're mainly going to look at the Armando Broja situation. The injury, his injury woes. Can we get replacements? Can we even send them back? Obviously, a lot of talk on whether Chelsea will even accept that. We'll look at the return of James Garner and how he fits in the team. Any concerns over Jared Branthwaite. And we'll also, quick little chat, because it's been talked about this week, at the Goodison Park atmosphere. Certainly a lot of opinion over that this week, so we'll certainly take a look at that. We'll also discuss our team selection for Spurs, obviously Sunday afternoon kick-off at Goodison Park, and we'll also give our predictions as well. As always, give the video a thumbs up, drop us a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Your support is always greatly appreciated. We are live, as always, as mentioned, so get your comments in, get your questions in, and interact and take part in the podcast yourselves. I'll read out as many of the comments and questions as possible. Connor, final word. We'll start with you first. Final word on Villa. Obviously, start of a new era, I guess, new dawn with David Moyes, but just ended in a disappointing night, really.
That is the one word verdict, isn't it? To sum up, disappointing. Yeah, just more of what we've already seen so far this season, wasn't it? A case of things largely staying the same. Not much happened. Not much to get excited by. I think we played a little bit better. Created a few more opportunities than what we've seen in recent weeks. Got closer to the Aston Villa goal than we did against, say, Forest before just after Christmas. But yeah, disappointing. I think we were all hoping that we'd get off to a winning start under David Moyes and at least try and build a bit of momentum, a bit of confidence. But that wasn't to be the case, and it was just a little bit disappointing in the end.
For those watching now, listening, we did discuss Villa in depth on Thursday, only yesterday, with me and Chris Beasley and Tony Scott. So if you want to go back and listen to that, give that a watch, you can do. But Paul, yeah, I mean, I guess I was a little bit buoyed by, the effort. I think there was a slight change. I predicted a 2-1 win, and I even went as far to say I think Villa will score first. So when Villa went 1-0 up, I was like, we're on here, we're on. It wasn't to be, obviously, but any signs from your point of view where you think, even in the short space of time that David Moyes has been at the club in a second stint, that things could start to go a little bit better?
Yeah, I was saying to Connor earlier in the office, disappointed to lose again, disappointed not to score again. I think, me personally, I think it's 6 games or 5 games on the run now. I've been at Goodison, not seen an Everton goal because I was working for the Wolves in the Fulham game and we missed the Peterborough one. So I probably thought I'd come away even more disappointed than I was, but I did think there were a couple of positive signs. I think we played less long ball. We tried to play through the middle of the pitch a little bit more. I thought Mikalenko had a strong game. It was the most attacking I've seen him. So but that's balanced against the fact that Villa are a really good side, but I didn't realise they hadn't kept a clean sheet all season away from home. They'd lost a number of games away from home, so it does feel like an opportunity lost. But it's hard for David Moyes to have done much in 2 or 3 days. But I didn't think we resorted to playing the ball as long as we did under Deitch, which is probably not a surprise given how long Deitch likes to go. But I thought we gave the ball away a lot, and their main chances came from us giving the ball away. And that probably comes from a side who don't have the ball much. Really, that's the way they've been coached. You know, I think Joe said it a few times on this podcast and in pieces that he's written for the Echo that Deitch's ideal amount of ball possession was like 30 to 40%, and on Wednesday I think we had 50, didn't we? And I think I don't think we look clueless, but I think we look nervous, kind of thing, where it was like, well, what are we supposed to do? And then they try and maybe force it a little bit too much. They'd lose the ball, and then Villa, with people like Rodgers and Watkins, are so dangerous on the break. But I thought they tried to play a little bit more. No complaints about the effort. We are lacking quality, but everyone knew that. So I was disappointed, but I wasn't too downhearted. You know, I thought there were some positive signs.
No, definitely. And I think you're right. I think in terms of trying to keep possession, keep hold of the ball, do something with it rather than just hitting it long, because we are so weak in that sense. The opposition, whether it's Villa or whoever, it always seems a lot easier for them to close us down, and that's when we start making our mistakes.
Yeah, me and my dad were saying it during the game. It was almost like they were waiting for us to make a mistake. Yeah. And to be honest, in the first 10 minutes we could have been 3-0 down, couldn't we? And Arno had a couple of shooting opportunities.
Made a great save.
Made a great save. Watkins should score the first one, but it wasn't like they were carving us open. But it's going to take time, isn't it? I know it sounds crazy because we haven't got much time to basically stay in the league, but if you're going to change your style or tweak your style, it's going to take time on the training ground, and you know we can't expect too much overnight, but we do need results.
Definitely. I think there's an argument to say Villa let us have the ball certainly in the second half when they went 1-0 up. However, that doesn't excuse the fact that I think we did look a little bit more attack and we looked a little bit better. Same like you've said, Mykolenko, he was slightly improved. He was getting further up the pitch, and that's clearly instruction from the manager, so that bodes well. I mean, just final thoughts on this one then, Connor. The more I look at it, that Lindstrom incident is just a stonewall penalty.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I didn't notice that at the time during the game. I actually didn't realise it was as big a chance as what it was either, because it was only afterwards, actually, when I was in the press conference and David Moyes referenced it when he was talking about some of the opportunities that Everton had, and I kind of thought, Lindstrom header. Actually, if I'm being honest, I thought he was clutching at straws a little bit, to be honest. It was only when I went home and watched put the highlights on, and I thought, I mean, this poor form for as a journalist, but Paul and Alicia, you just have so much to do, especially with big games.
Yeah,
but like, I thought that was a big chance. Now it was only to see the other angle where it's like you see the push, you think, well, actually, so at first I thought Lindstrom had messed up. To be honest, I thought he should do a lot better, but obviously now it's quite clear he gets pushed, and I mean, we've seen penalties given for a lot less than that in the Premier League. And I also thought, to be honest, that Calvert-Lewin one could have easily been a penalty, where he gets dragged to the ground. Like, I think we've seen them given before, but, you can't rely on VAR decisions, can you? You can't rely on...
We can't, anyway.
No, well, yeah, no. But you can't rely on it, can you? And, as a collective, we've got to do a lot more. And I think just the disappointing thing for me with Villa was that it late-bearded, didn't it, all our problems and all our limitations in terms of, at the minute, we can't keep clean sheets and we're making a lot of mistakes, because like Paul said, Villa should go ahead when Ashley Young hits that back pass. The goal, Watkins' goal comes from Branthwaite losing possession, doesn't it, on the halfway line, the breaking, winning 2 passes, Watkins is scoring past Jordan Pickford, and we just can't score. Like, I think we could generally still be in there now from Wednesday night, and I don't think we would have scored. So yeah, I think it was just a night when our limitations were laid bare for all to see, and if David Moyes had any concerns about the task facing him and the challenges that lie ahead, he will have been, no doubt, even more alarmed by what he witnessed on Wednesday night.
We're trying to be positive on this podcast.
Well, let's not talk about Aston Villa then.
Okay, that's fair enough. Now, I just think on the Lindstrom,
let's look ahead.
On the Lindstrom one, I agree. I thought it was a weak attempt at trying to win the ball. However, when you do watch it back, that was at Jordan when I was in the stadium watching it back. He jumps and then is pushed. What is he meant to do when he's like his momentum's already up in the air? So
the referee was awful.
Oh yeah,
absolutely
Barrett, wasn't it?
Awful. Every time Villa went down, they get a free kick. And I think we'd have to be taken out to get a free kick. I thought he was pathetic. The referee on
Samuel
Wednesday.
Barrett, remember the name?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Let's move on to Broja and his injury woes then, Connor. He's not getting any luck, is he, at this moment in time? I mean, out injured for the beginning of his Everton career, played a handful of games and now injured again. And it's an ankle injury that's going to keep him out for 10 to 12 weeks. I mean, it looks like we're trying to get him to go back to Chelsea, but reports will have you believe that is going to be quite difficult right now. Yeah,
understandably, isn't it? Because why would Chelsea want to cut short the loan and take him back and have to pay his full wages while he's injured? It's a tough situation, I think, for everyone concerned, because Chelsea obviously got their own interest to protect. Everton have got their own interest to protect, because let's face it, him going back to Chelsea might free up a loan spot that David Moyes could look to utilise and fill in this window, because obviously it's quite clear that we need attacking reinforcements and we need them quite fast. And it's a horrible situation for Broja, because having spent so long on the sidelines, not just this season but these last couple of years, for him to be back out again. And I think if we're being honest, he probably struggled to kick a ball again only this season, because it's going to be April till he's out till April, do you reckon? But Moyes said 12 weeks, didn't he? So it's probably looking at April. By the time he gets back fit, probably the season's over, isn't it? Would you risk him anyway in them last few games if he does get back fit? So yeah, it's a horrible situation for all parties concerned. But Everton desperately could probably do with Chelsea doing him a favour and agreeing to him, taking him back and cancelling the loan, because it's the only way it's going to free up a domestic loan spot in which Everton can go out and bolster their attacking options. Because I think we all agree, can't we, sitting here right now, we are in desperate need of attacking reinforcements. Moyes alluded to himself, didn't he, after the game? He basically, he needs help, and he needs help as soon as possible. So yeah, it's a tough situation for all three parties, but Everton could really do with Chelsea doing them a favour in all this.
No favours in the Premier League.
There isn't, so that makes it difficult, doesn't it?
Keep it in line with the positivity of this podcast. We could be safe by April, and it's irrelevant anyway.
Yeah, we could.
Well, what do we do, Paul? Because I know we're not privy to the ins and outs of this contract or this deal that we've secured with Chelsea for Broja. If it was the case where we can't send them back because Chelsea looking for compensation, do we just pay it? Can we pay it?
Again, you don't know the ins and outs of it, but I think it's easy to say in hindsight. But whoever sanctioned the deal, whether it was Deitch or Felwell, really needs questioning over this, because looking at his past injury record is one red flag, and the fact that they signed him when he was injured was a second one. And it would be okay if there was just one domestic loan at that time, but they would have known that you were filling up your two spaces with a player who was never going to be fit till what was it, like November time anyway?
Yeah. It was December, wasn't it?
December.
When he come back in, wasn't it?
And okay, you could understand it if there was a break clause, where we could say, right, come January we can send him back, but they're clearly, again, we don't know the ins and outs of it.
Cut-off point or something.
I think we would have known by now if there was a cut-off point, and the fact that the reports, is it?
Yeah.
Paul Joyce and Matt Law's close to Chelsea, isn't he? Have all said no, and I hate to say it, but of course, why would Chelsea take him back? It's absolutely no need. We've taken on his wages, so it just looks a really, really poor piece of, not transfer business, because I think there's a player there, isn't there? Yeah. Broja, I like him, but we took a gamble when we can't afford to take those kind of gambles.
But that's the market we're looking in right now.
Yeah, and
he's obviously got something, hasn't he?
I know that's probably the argument they suggest, like, well, we needed to take a gamble, but it's more the fact that you've got Harrison there, which I think Chris wrote recently, like, there's no break clause in that one either. So we've kind of left ourselves hamstrung a bit here. Like, it's a really difficult situation. Feel sorry for the lad himself, because he just can't catch a break, can he? Because the injury record he's had in recent years, it's not his fault. I'm sure he's desperate to play football, but it's a situation of our own making. I'm sad to say, you take a gamble on it and it's not paid off, and it could really backfire here, because I know Chris was writing yesterday when he was talking about the Willian transfer that there could be some funds to spend, but strikers, how much are you talking? It's not going to. And also, it's going to be a big money, isn't it?
I know. But we might as well move on to this, if that's all right, about reinforcements and what comes next. But I want to make the point of, you've also got to look at the position that we're in. And if we're being brutally honest, as things stand right now, we're not an attractive proposition, are we? We're a team fighting relegation for the third season running. we're a team that largely can't create chances for centre forwards, if from what we've seen this season, and that might change under David Moyes, of course, because it's unfair to beat him with that stick because he's only had one game in charge. But if you're a forward sitting there right now and someone says, "Oh, Everton are coming for you," you're probably thinking, "Oh, hang on, like I'm gonna have to go in and score like 10, 15 goals here because that's what they're gonna expect from me." The way they're set up is very minimal in terms of actual service, and they're also a team that's battling relegation for the third time in 3 years. That's not a great look, is it? It's not a great selling point. And the only way you can kind of often bypass that sales thing is by offering more money to players, and whether that be transfer fee or wages. And as we've seen in recent years, we've wasted enough money on overpaying players. And you think some of the contracts that players have got at this football club and then have ended up walking away for free at the end of them, it's criminal, really. So I think we are really stuck in a hole in this. And unless something major happens, then it could be a frustrating month.
Even more so because you've got Calvert-Lewin, who, I don't know if we're going to talk about him on the podcast. I still think he's our best centre forward, even though he's obviously on this horrible goal scoring run. But he's got 6 months left. And I think there's reports today that Newcastle would like him in the summer, but if Everton felt the need they had to sell him just to get some money back, they'd be looking for 15 million. As crazy as it sounds, I don't know if it's worth the risk. I really don't know. I just don't know if it's worth the risk selling him now. And then you've got Beto, who clearly wants out, and who can blame him in a way? I don't think he's good enough to start, but like he's been sat on the bench for 2 seasons. He'll probably want to go. So it's a tricky one, as Connor says. It's that's probably my biggest concern.
We're talking out here, and I know, we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves and make claims that are probably a little bit over the top, but it almost feels like we're gambling a little bit here with our Premier League status, because we're going to have to make a decision that either way could have a massive implication on what happens between now and the end of the season. Because like Paul says, on one hand, I'm a big Calvert-Lewin fan myself, and I've long been supporting him, and I think he is the best centre forward Everton have got, but he's clearly lacking in confidence, and he's clearly a player who's playing out of sorts. And you see the chance he misses in stoppage time. He doesn't even hit the target, and it just shows that maybe he wasn't expecting it, but he's just a player who's naturally out of contract, out of confidence, and out of form.
Out of contract as well.
Yeah, he is out. Yeah, but do Everton stick with him and just grind it in for the next 6 months? And we've almost got to accept that coming into the season he might go for free.
He's going.
Or do we gamble and think, actually, do we try and get 15 million for him this month and then hope that we can go out and sign someone and bring someone in as a replacement? It's a big ask, but these are the questions one suspects that behind the scenes Everton are going to have, because the position we find ourselves in now, something's got to change and something's got to give. But it's not as simple as something changing or something given, because, like we've alluded to already, we don't have much leeway in terms of bringing people in on loan, bringing people in, in terms of what you're going to pay for them, etc. So I think the outcome of all this by the end of January could go a long way to determine whether we're a Premier League club next season or not.
I think a lot of people are thinking that we could have just got rid of Broja, send them back, and then get another loan in. But there's a reason why that if we get someone in on loan, there's a reason why he's only coming in on loan to Everton, because he's not really wanted by his club. He's obviously, that person is more than likely not going to be in a good run of form.
Well, obviously the big one, everyone was talking about was Evan Ferguson, wasn't it?
That'd be a dream one,
but he's injured, isn't he?
There always comes with a caveat, doesn't it?
And he's been injured, and he's been injured for part of the season. So again, we're bringing in someone who's probably not going to be 100% fit. So even if you do bring him in,
you still need a first choice striker, and that's Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah.
That's Calvert-Lewin to me.
It brings us back to the fact that regardless of who we bring in, whether it's a loan and whether even we get, we're talking about this Leon winger, aren't we? I don't know how far that deal has progressed, but I just think Moyes, he's going to have to work with what he's got. And then you hope that James Garner, who's obviously going to return, we'll come on to him anyway, Ira Boomham, and who else has been injured, McNeil, that they come in back into the fore, and he's able. I think we are a different proposition with those three in the team, 100%, more available. Yeah. He's going to have to work with what he's got. He's going to have to do something with Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin predominantly plays the game with his back to goal. How the hell do you score goals with your back to goal unless you're like Thierry Henry, who would score a worldie from outside the area? That's not the case. He's going to have to find a way of Calvert-Lewin getting into that 6 yard area, 10 yard area of the box, and winning headers, tap-ins, something he's got to do that.
Well, you know, see on the screen there, you've obviously wrote some forwards' names down in terms of Danny Ings.
I'm prepared.
Only Evan Ferguson, like I say, he's been injured, but like, you know, Danny Ings is
he's injury prone as well,
and he's a 6-yard box centre forward who will rely on services to the box to be a bit of a poacher. We've got to how are we getting that surface to him? You know, Oboni, I think, is a handful, but I don't think he's much of an upgrade on Beto in terms of he's just a handful. Like, you know, I don't think he's going to come be someone who comes in and, you know, will be able to kind of score goals on a weekly basis. I think, you know, you look at him compared to Chris Wood, and they look worlds apart. I know Chris Wood's in the form of his life,
yeah.
but they look worlds apart. So, you know, even Oboni, and obviously, I reckon by all accounts, if he does leave Forest, he's going to West Ham, doesn't he, anyway? So
because they're desperate need of a striker
themselves. They're in desperate need of a striker, and obviously West Ham are a much better proposition to a lot of players than what Everton are. So, yeah, I just think, I know we're not dissing your names too much there, but I think even with any of them coming in, there's still massive question marks over it.
Listen, I completely agree. I only came up with those options just for us
because they're the ones floating around that could be available.
Just for us to discuss. I just think, going back to Calvert-Lewin, Carlo Ancelotti it's not even, I don't even think it's that much of a genius move.
We have better players though back then.
Okay, we have better players, I'll give him that, but he knew that. This is no disrespect to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. As a footballer in general, he's probably not up there, he's not one of the best, but if you put him in an area where he can score goals, he might miss one or two, like he did against Villa, but more than likely, he will get one, he might get another one. And Calvert-Lewin's proved over time that he scores in bursts. Gav Buchan said this months ago. He was going through that drought, remember, when it was 22 games it got to, and then he scored, and then he scored again, and then he scored against Liverpool. I think he scored against Burnley first, wasn't it? I think that was the goal, and then the goal started coming in little bursts, and now he's back in this drought again. If we get a player in on loan, sorry Paul, I'll let you go now. If we get a player in on loan, if Broja was to return, I just can't see him being any better than what we've got because of the situation.
I think you're right about Calvert-Lewin. Again, I'm trying to be positive. He had 3 chances on Wednesday night. The first one, Mikalenko put it behind the back line. He brought it down his chest, left-footed shot, just wide. The second one, where he had it cleared off the line, he did do well to bring it down, though. Like
his effort was a bit weak, I thought.
And like it trickled towards the line, he cleared off. And then the third one, that's the clutch moment, which he didn't take in. But that's on him. I said to my mate, who's moved to Ireland and he obviously can't go to the game anymore, and I said, I'll always defend Calvert-Lewin because I think it's been a hell of a task being an Everton centre forward over the years, particularly under Deitch. And I think he's a good player, but that was the clutch moment, the third one. He's got to score. That's what he gets paid to do. But on the flip side, trying to be positive, he's had 3 chances there, and if you come away as a centre forward having 3 chances a game, you hope, as you said, Ian, one just goes in, like the Burnley goal where Muric kicked it out, hit him, went in. We need something like that. We'll probably talk about the names, but I still think, I know it's a different conversation, but I still think it's Calvert-Lewin and another. I
don't think any of them names mentioned, or they are the names who people are kind of mentioning. They all come with question marks, don't they, as well?
No, exactly. So they might have quality like Broja's got, but if he's injured, it's pointless.
I'm not being funny, I'm showing my age now, but when Kevin Campbell was signed, and we need a Kevin Campbell, don't we? He was playing at Turkey. Probably a lot of people thought at that stage his English career is over, and then he scored 9 goals in 6-7 games, and he's an Everton hero, you know, and God rest his soul. You know, you're looking for something like that. I think they'll always, given the position we're in, it's going to. I don't know if there's a Kevin Campbell out there. Pray to God there is, but there's always going to be question marks over whoever we bring in because of our position, particularly financially, because of the position we're in the league as well.
I do think though, and obviously I know this was your next agenda point, so I apologise again to moving on.
No, sorry.
But I do think
you're just trying to finish the podcast quick, aren't you?
No. But I do think the way we saw Everton play on Wednesday, I was talking to Paul about this earlier in the office. The way we saw Everton play on Wednesday, and clearly what Dave Moyes wants to do a little bit, not being long and direct. We need someone like James Garner to play midfield to be the link between the back four, the midfield, and to kind of get the ball into the forward line, because he's one who actually can retain possession, I think, and keep it. And I know people have their own opinions on James Garner. And, I know people who think James Garner should be played at right back, for instance, every week because he's a better right back.
Pointless playing him there now.
But I think the way Moyes wants to play, he could be crucial in how getting the ball between the kind of back line to the forwards. Because I think he is someone who can retain possession, he can get on the ball, and he can make things happen. And I think for as good as Mangala and Guy have been in recent weeks, I think they have both done well. I think they're very workmanlike, aren't they? And I think they're very good at like turning over possession, winning second balls, reacting to covering, counter attacks. But neither of them are great kind of on the ball, are they? Getting the ball off the back four and retaining possession and playing. Whereas I think Garner is a bit more natural like that. And I think hopefully the return of Garner, if we play like this, was enable Calvert-Lewin to get himself in better positions where they can actually do some sort of damage.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw a curveball in here, Paul. We obviously do need a striker. We need a better striker. We need a striker who can score goals. But if we could get, say, a winger who we know would make a difference, a number 10 who we know would make a difference, just some sort of an attacking player, would you choose that over, say, like an Evan Ferguson, who we know is probably a good player, but is injury prone and it's just a massive risk to bring him in?
Yeah, probably. Evan Ferguson, when you talked about which players you'd like us to bring in, like I don't think it's going to happen now because all the signs seem to suggest that we won't be allowed to send Broja back. I would take a risk on him because I think there's a real player there. But again, like Bro said, he's dropped off a little bit, hasn't he? Compared to the player who scored the hat-trick against Newcastle at the start of last season. Like, absolutely brilliant. I remember when they beat us 4-1 at Goodison. He reminded me of like a young Shearer. Because again, I'm old enough to remember when Shearer was coming through latterly at Southampton, then at Blackburn. I think he's got so much about him, but there's something clearly not worked out there. No, I think you make a good point, mate. I think if Calvert-Lewin stays and Beto stays, and we could bring in a number 10 and a number 11, I think that might be a better option. I know that sounds crazy. Because
over a striker who's just injury prone.
Well, the big thing is those don't sign injury prone players if we can avoid it.
Certainly when you need them to hit the ground running.
If we can avoid it, like, that's not,
we've been a bit duped with Broja in a way. That deal looked fantastic on paper because you don't have to play him. You don't have to pay him
until he plays.
So that's great. I think it was even when it was his first appearance in the squad, wasn't it? I think that was when we had to start paying it. So Chelsea probably knew we're desperate to get him off our books because he's so injury prone. Obviously got the talent. I mean, handful of games and he's injured already. Like I think we've been duped, to be honest. But
yeah, I think it was a gamble.
Gamble, yeah.
I think that's the nicest way of putting it. But that's a big gamble when you've got 2 domestic loans and knowing that there's no break clause in both. That's a big gamble, and it doesn't look like it's paid off.
Just on Garner then, because Connor's touched upon him. He's obviously coming back. I think a lot of people have said he could potentially make a difference. I don't want to put too much pressure on him because we usually do that, don't we? When players don't play because they're injured, they seem to.
Whoever comes in the centre forward, he's got to score 20 goals, haven't he?
I know. But where would he come in for you then if he was fit and ready? Would he? Obviously, he can play in a whole host of positions. Connor mentioned right back. For me, that would be a waste of time right now because we need him more in an advanced attacking role. For me, it would be centre midfield or potentially if Harrison and Lindstrom continue not to carry on playing right wing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're missing him, and I think we're massively missing McNeil. I think we know there's a lot of debates about McNeil, but I think you've seen, let alone his set pieces in terms of his goals, he's still our top scorer this season, McNeil.
Yeah.
Like, in
assists, isn't it?
Yeah, like he's I hope today at the press conference there's a proper update on him. This is nothing against Everton or Premier League. It's just Premier League clubs in general. They just do not tell the fans exactly what's going on with injuries. Like McNeil seems to have no, he's not quite ready. I just wish someone would tell us exactly where he's up to because we're missing him. Garner. I think he's just a bit more progressive, isn't he, than Mangala and Idrissa Gueye. Big fan. I think Mangala's been good, and I'm a big fan of Idrissa Gueye, but I think if we're going to play through the lines more and not go direct, we need someone who's a better passer, and I think Garner's that.
Without being too nostalgia and reflecting on past years, because I think we've all done that a lot in the last 10 days, but there's shades of James Garner becoming David Moyes' new Leon Osman.
Okay.
In that sense of he's not quite got the pace to be the winger that everyone wants sometimes your winger to be. He's not going to be a Luis Diaz-esque winger for what you see with Liverpool, burning pace. But he'll be able to get on the ball, retain possession, link up play, and he'd be quite intelligent when he does get on the ball. And I think obviously we saw what Osman did me over the years. He often moved across the midfield. He obviously play out wide some weeks. He played in the middle some weeks. He just kind of has that same. He reminds me a little bit of Osman in that sense of like, you know, he can get on the ball, he can make things happen, but he hasn't got a blistering turn of pace. He's not your normal winger. But the way David Moyes will probably want to play, and the way David Moyes will expect his teams to play, he could play a key role in things ticking over.
If he's going to go more attacking and then take the Corday out the side, if McNeil comes back and Njai's in there, he might like a worker as well, kind of thing. But that's what you said before, Ian. Maybe if they're not get a striker, bring in more attacking players. I wonder what he does with the Corday as well. Because I thought he again worked like they all did the other night. In no way there was no lack of effort at all on Wednesday night, and the Corday was one of them. And he's got some massive goals he scored for the club, and I was okay for him to start. I think he got a bit closer to Calvert-Lewin the other night, but I do think longer term that's got to change, hasn't it? And I wonder if Garner becomes one of those three behind.
Ideally, for me, that's where he'd go, and Lindstrom's got to step up for me on the right hand side. I think we were a bit harsh maybe on Harrison yesterday. I think for me, he just still played out of position. Lindstrom is probably the more naturally wide player out of the two. He's got to step up, because ideally, like say, Garner doesn't play right wing, although I'd have him there. I just think in the middle is where he's probably better. Let's move on to a different topic. Got to move on quick because we know we're short on time. Branthwaite, let's talk about Branthwaite. So I noticed this tweet from someone on Twitter. So I'm going to read it out about Branthwaite. I don't necessarily agree with this. I'm just bringing it in for purpose of debate, Connor. This is a Martin Roberts. He says, unpopular opinion, Branthwaite isn't as good as people think. Yes, he's tall and physical, but he can't pass the ball. He's always backwards or sideways and has been that way for a long time. He's not an intellectual defender. He's no John Stones.
I think that's a bit harsh. Don't get me wrong, I thought he was quite poor. I thought he struggled the other night. I thought that was one of his worst games I've actually seen in an Everton shirt. I thought he was quite lucky, wasn't he, in the first half? He gave the ball away until Tarkowski got back and made a great block to deny Tielemans. And then obviously second half he gave the ball away again and was punished because Villa broke coming in 2 or 3 passes. Like I said earlier, Watkins was finishing past Pickford confidently. I thought he had a bad night, but everyone has bad nights, don't they? You know, everyone has bad nights. And put it this way, I think we can all safely agree as we sit here now, Everton are a lot better team with Jared Branthwaite in it than without it. So yeah, he might not be John Stones yet, but I think he could certainly become as good as John Stones has. And don't forget, this is only his second season of Premier League football. We've got to remember, like, you know, he has had
he's been injury prone.
He's
been injured.
He's been injured. You know, he missed a lot of pre-season, pretty much all the pre-season. Missed the start of the season, then obviously come back in, then missed the game. So yeah, I think he had a poor night, but I think that's a little bit harsh, and I certainly think he's remains and will be a crucial Everton player between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, I agree. It's harsh.
Yeah, I don't.
He's right in the sense he's not John Stones yet. Or
no, John
might
Stones
never be.
John Stones is a far better footballer than Branthwaite will ever be in terms of the ball, play on the ball. Like, and that's nothing against Branthwaite. Branthwaite, I think he's a good footballer. I disagree that he's a poor footballer in terms of his ability on the ball. John Stones is like, my God, he's a once in a generation player.
Also helped John Stones. He went and got coached by Pep.
Yeah, well, let's not forget when he went to City, Stones wasn't in the side for a long time under Guardiola, so it took him time as well. I think McConney had a poor night the other night, and he's not been quite at the same level he hit. Well, he's definitely not been at the same level he hit last season, but he's had a lot of injury problems. Obviously, the change in manager, probably a bit of a change in style now, a bit of a tweak. I think the defenders, even Tarkowski the other night, the long balls he plays. I know he loves that ping to the wings, but there wasn't too many aimless ones, was there? Where it was definitely towards the latter days of Dice, there were just long balls for the sake of long balls. So yeah, no, I don't think he's playing particularly well at the moment, Branthwaite. But no, I've got no major concerns about him. We've got bigger concerns than
we've got more worries, I think, for various other positions than we have about Jared Branthwaite. That's for sure.
No, I just thought as a debate, I think like that tweet. Like it was a good.
From someone. And I must admit, I think obviously I was on play ratings on Wednesday night. I don't always do them, so it's very sporadically, but I think what he got to tonight was the lowest I'd ever give him. Okay. So, because I think every time before he's either been, he got a 9 once off me, he's had numerous 8s, minimum's always been 7 and he got 6. So, you know, that does tell the story for the other night. He was poor, but yeah, I think we've got far bigger issues to be worrying about than Jarrod Branthwaite.
Take on the Goodison Park atmosphere then, Paul. There's been a lot of tweets, a lot of discussion following the Villa game, saying maybe it wasn't up to scratch, you know, considering it was a big game, we had a new manager. Yeah, were you disappointed? What have we got to do to improve it? Because I know the fans, certainly, a couple of the fan groups, the 1878, you know, they go out their way, the effort that they do to get the flags on the terraces, on the stands and stuff like that. So it's not for the one to try and.
No whatsoever. I'll speak as a season ticket holder here rather than a journalist, because like a lot of people listening or watching this podcast, I'm a supporter too. We got there a little bit earlier on Wednesday than we usually do, because we're the kind of type of family who'll turn up 10 minutes before kick-off, got to be honest. And again, the displays are fantastic. The supporters groups cannot be doing any more than what they're doing. I've got to be honest, I don't think the atmosphere at Goodison's been amazing for a long time now. I was a season ticket holder till 2003, 2004. Then I got a job, and then working on Saturday covering football clubs, and then I think I came back in 2016 or 17 after kind of my club reporting days were over, and I noticed the difference from then. I had a massive difference in the time of being away. I'd come back sporadically, but I noticed a massive difference. But I don't think it's just Everton, to be honest. I think a lot of Premier League games, I know I've got Liverpool supporting friends, I've got other teams, friends who support clubs. I think the atmosphere's changed over the years. But a big thing is at the moment for Everton, like as I said earlier, I've gone 5 games without seeing an Everton goal at Goodison Park. Like a lot of people will be in that position too. It's hard. It's really hard. Like not to get yourself up for it, but it's been tough being an Evertonian. Like, I would never criticise any Evertonians about the atmosphere, because I'm not being funny, over the last few years, if it wasn't for Evertonians, I don't think the club would still be in the Premier League. You know, they've helped get the team over the line over so many years. Like, probably just needs like an early goal or something, doesn't it? Just needs I think the spark needs to come from the team to get that atmosphere lifted. And maybe I hope it doesn't have to get lifted like kind of artificially, like we've had to do in the last few seasons with like team bus arrivals and things later on, where we've had to come together and said, right, listen, there's no option now. I didn't think it was bad the other night. I think it was supportive. I think it got a bit more of the game on, but it wasn't flat. Maybe we're being a bit harsh saying flat, but it wasn't. It's hard. It wasn't a bear piss, was it?
I think Paul's right though. I think the atmosphere in the stands is massively determined by what happens on the pitch. Yeah. And I think what we've seen this season and what we've seen in recent seasons has been nowhere near good enough, has it? And I actually just talked to someone recently, more obviously under the Sean Dyche kind of towards the end, and I said it's boring and predictable watching Everton, because you know what's going to happen. But the same problems rear their head on almost weekly bi-weekly basis, don't they? And Forest, for instance, the Forest game. I mean, I went to the pub after I was talking to a couple of people there, and they were saying, well, once we went 1-0 down, you knew that was it, because everyone's in that mindset, aren't they? Because of what they're seeing, and that plays a big part, don't they? Because I'm sure Paul, you sit there with your dad and your son and whatnot, and I'm sure when Forest did score, that probably went to each other. Long way back now, isn't it? because you naturally know, don't you? You naturally know.
I had a mate who wanted to leave straight away. They just said, "What's the point?" And I said, "No, come on, we'll stay." Wish I'd just left.
Yeah, and I think that is why the atmosphere perhaps isn't what people want it to be. But I think it's on the players, it's on the managers to give the fans something to shout about and get behind. And I don't think we've had enough of that in recent years. And it's not, I'd say, it's not for the one. People have tried. People continue to try. People do some 1878s do some unbelievable things. And like Paul says, if it probably wasn't for them and other fan groups and supporters getting together in the last 2 years and saying, actually, you know what, we need to come together as one.
Probably be worse.
We do everything. We'll be playing the Championship. That season when Frank Lampard kept Everton up, but not the season under Frank Lampard when Everton stayed up, the fans there dragged the team over the line. I don't care what anyone says. They got behind the players. They done it the year after. So you've got to give people something to shout about, and I just don't think we give people we don't give people enough to shout about at the minute. And as I say, it's just boring and predictable.
You're tight. Obviously, a lot of people are tired from relegation battles, but I think it's just the football this season. As we said we said at the start, since the last time I came on, it was boring, wasn't it? I didn't think Wednesday was boring. I wouldn't say that.
No,
but the continuation.
But it's like 0-0 again or 1-1, and like it does creep into your mind. It's like, well, that's that then. You know, when Watkins scored, I thought I did create loads of chances, but I thought we responded pretty well to the second. I thought if anyone was going to score a goal again in the second half, it was going to be us. But it takes time to change. I thought
that showed a little bit towards the end, didn't it, as well? Because I think there was a little bit more atmosphere towards the end. Because people were pushing for the equaliser. But whereas like the Forest game, for instance,
it was gone.
Once it went 2-0, you know, if people would have got off then. I mean, with the greatest respect, you know, we're journalists. I actually think as that game we could have all just like filed our match report 10 minutes later because and not lost 20 minutes because you knew nothing was going to, you know. And when you look back, you know, I think it was at the 88th minute against Forest, Calvert-Lewin had a tame header, didn't he, which
first shot on target,
which Sells just kind of stood there and caught, like, you know, without having to move a muscle essentially, and that was about as good as it got. And I think that's where we now see that the impact of that, because people are just so used to it, and I think people are struggling to get behind what they say. And like I say, you hope on Sunday that, I mean, maybe clutching straws here, but you hope on Sunday that, you know, first 5 minutes we get a goal, or I know it sounds very old school, someone goes through someone and gets the crowds up and everyone starts getting, you know, you always go back, don't we, to that, you know, it's these always say it was to tackle that turn of the season, but we all remember when Neville just went through Ronaldo, don't we, that time we were getting played off the park by United, and we were 1-0 down, and it was about half an hour in, and everyone was, and I think we struggled to start that season anyway, and then Neville went through Ronaldo, and there was a bit of a kick off, and everyone got off the seat, and then we ended up equalising that day. Should have won it at the end. I think someone hit the post, and you think, and that we didn't really look back after then. We obviously got the FA Cup final that season, done really well. You just, you know, if we don't, I know that sounds really old school and like Dogs of War days, but you just give people something to go off the seat and shout about and get, you know.
I think I think a big part of it as well. I was just thinking about like Tottenham and players and stuff like that. And I noticed Richarlison's back. I think we lack a hero. Like I really do. Obviously, we love Seamus. Jordan Pickford's an amazing goalkeeper. You know, everyone really likes Njai. You know, I just think we lack a hero. Like Richarlison's coming back on Sunday, and you'll really see it. I don't think we've got like a talisman or someone, you know, like you talk about the Phil Neville tackle. Just don't. But that might be times have changed as well. Maybe those players aren't.
No, you spot on.
You know,
well, you are right about the hero though, because you know I still know. Like I grew up, but Duncan Ferguson was a bit of the hero. Or you know, obviously I was fortunate to see Wayne Rooney when he first come through. But for a lot of kids in recent years, and I was talking to someone about this a while ago, and he was saying about like his lads and Everton fan and stuff, and he said like, you know, the fact that Richarlison played for Brazil. He said, like, you know, we lads had 3 Brazil kits with Richarlison on the back and thought it was incredible. We don't have that anymore. You know, we've got England's goalkeeper, but he's a goalkeeper. You know, and unless your son is a goalkeeper, there's probably very little kind of glamour around being a goalkeeper, isn't he? You know, Branthwaite probably is the next big superstar we've got, but isn't quite at that level. We don't have that, like...
He's not going to score you loads.
We don't have a poster boy, do we? You know, like I say, Richarlison very much was that, like... He's not just an Everton hero. This lad plays for Brazil, and everyone's like, you know, it must be good if he plays for Brazil. And you used to walk around towns and you see kids with Richarlison Brazil kits on, because it felt like our thing to get behind. Of like, we've got a Brazilian international playing for us. Paul's right, but at the minute we don't have that role.
He's the one I'd take back. If we could get him back.
He might have had injury problems, but we'll draw a line with that and bring him back.
Gamble on him.
Absolutely. Your hero point is absolutely spot on. Who's going to step up this year? Because what I go as far as to say, and loads of people are probably going to jump on me and you might disagree, even Sean Dyche's first season when he first came in, the hero for me, the talisman, was Decore. He was scoring the goals. He was making things.
But he was playing with a point to prove, though, wasn't he, as well?
No, exactly.
Lampard,
because of the way Lampard treats them.
It all like combines into one. We know Decore's not the same player that he once was. He probably should come out of the team. But who's going to step up? Let's face it. I mean, my take is very similar to yours on it. We are a product of our environment.
Yeah.
Certainly over the last, say, 6 games, certainly over the last 2, 3, 4 years, if you haven't scored a goal in 6 games, how can you get excited? You've already touched upon it, but it's a moment in a game, unless it's an absolutely huge game. For instance, it's a derby, it's a European game against a Fiorentina, then the atmosphere probably isn't going to be absolutely massive. And I'd go as far as to say that's the same for every club in the Premier League. It's something that happens in a game. It's a goal. It's a bad refereeing decision. It's a player going through another opposition player. All these things, contribute to a good atmosphere. And hopefully David Moyes can kind of turn that around. Obviously, I felt Wednesday we saw it a little bit, but we want more. Right, let's finish off with, again, I keep saying team selection, should we pick our team? But I still think it's really hard to pick the team because we don't know what Moyes is going to do.
And we also don't know what, obviously we're recording this and we're live before his press conference, so...
Let's not do team selection, let's do predictions, and then I'll read out a couple of questions, and then we'll finish off.
I was going to say, because you don't know what curve bombs he's going to drop,
That's a good shout.
You could become... One thing about this job, and Paul back me up on this, always expect the unexpected.
That's a good point, that actually, because Moyes now has changed, is probably going to change his press conference times to 1 p.m. Our usual slot is like 11:30 on
he's already listened to Dice the day before.
Exactly. So looks like Moyes' press conference are going to be later, but unfortunately our schedule is that we have to record early on in the morning. Okay, we'll do questions, a couple of comments, and then predictions. So atmosphere, one that you pinpointed there, Paul. Brawl Record says, atmosphere was poor. Came down from Falkirk for the game, and people around me in the Park End was so quiet. Very disappointing. Typical of English football now. But you kind of touched upon that.
Yeah. Honestly, I seen the difference in like the whatever 10, 12, 13 years away. Because I was a lot younger then, obviously, and we were on the Gladys Streets behind the goal. That was where our season ticket was, and there was singing every game. People were up. I don't know what it's like now. It's just changed, but I think football's changed. And honestly, like people talk about like the famous Anfield atmosphere. I've got some of my best friends are Reds, and they say it's wrong. It's wrong again. Like you just said, for us, big derby game. We had a European game, cup game. Same with Liverpool. They might get the atmosphere, Champions League, Man United, Everton, but believe you me, I don't think it's just Evertonians. I think it's more across the board
it's
now.
It's been quite interesting, obviously, just on English football. There's obviously been a lot of protests, hasn't there? Joint protests between different fan groups connected to football, different football clubs in recent weeks, and I know one of the big drivers in that have been Spirit of Shankly in Liverpool, because they believe that, the way football's going, I think the phrase is, it's going to kill the cop, because the prices and stuff like that, means the local people can't go, and there's a whole load of factors, isn't there, why I think the atmosphere around English football has changed, and I don't think it's just Everton, but I think Everton's biggest issue on the whole, like we debated before, we talked about before, you've just got to have something on the pitch to shout about, haven't you, and get behind, and for far too long that hasn't been the case.
I think this big commercial drive from every single club around the world, probably not just in the Premier League or Everton, it maybe prices certain people out of a game because they can't afford to go. Do you know what I mean?
And we've all done it, like, don't get me wrong, I've been to watch Barcelona a couple of times, and I'm sure there's Barcelona fans who sit there and think, I used to love it when it was just full of 50,000 Catalonians who come every week and screamed and shout, and now we've got probably 20,000 Catalonians and 70,000 tourists, so it's not just in the Premier League where that happens, but it's just a common theme, isn't it, across football?
Yeah, well, hopefully the way Bramley Moore is designed, it will have a positive impact on atmosphere. Daniel Reel, there's going to be goals in the game against Spurs. They are weak at the back, and if we press them like we did Villa, they will make mistakes.
Well, Villa made mistakes, but we didn't take a chance, like, advantage of them, did we? So
yeah, I think even though Villa's first clean sheet away, like they've not won up, and the first clean sheet away all season, wasn't it? Tottenham do have problems back there. The young lad Archie Gray, I've got to admit that every time I see him, a centre midfielder playing centre back at 18, 19, he looks a hell of a player. But they've got backup two centre backs, haven't they? Jackson's a centre back, but Gray's a midfielder. Got Porro, and then at left back, who's playing left back for the moment? Spence, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they've got, and the best goalkeeper. We've got to attack them. We've got to put balls into the box. What I've seen of the new keeper, watching him against Liverpool, and then Kiefer, our colleague, Liverpool supporting colleague, said he's seen him against Arsenal on Wednesday, and he looks dodgy under pressure with the ball at his feet, because the Premier League's a lot more intense from where he's playing. If we don't score against the Tottenham team that have got about 6 or 7 first choice defenders and goalkeepers out, we may have a few problems. I still think they're great going forward, Tottenham, though. I think there could be goals on Sunday.
Glenn Rayton says the midfield has to change. The core 8 isn't a player if we want to improve up front. Surely Garner, Armstrong or Irabumum need to be in as forward-thinking midfielders. I think we probably all agree.
Yeah, obviously we spoke to me at length about Garner. Irabumum just depends when he's back in. Obviously, I say we record now before Moyes has done his press conference, so we don't know the latest on team news and who's in and who's out and who's available.
But you'll find out on the Liverpool Echo website.
You will,
Yeah.
indeed. Follow our live blog. Like Joe Thomas will be in attendance at Finch Farm. But yeah, Armstrong's an interesting one, isn't he? Because I do like Armstrong. I think he's done well against Peterborough, but probably just feels a little bit too early, I think, before we'll see him playing on a regular basis. But yeah, I wouldn't be against a few changes in the midfield moving forward.
Predictions then, Paul, for Spurs?
Try and be positive, because that's what I tried to be throughout the podcast. I'm going to say 2-1 Everton. Like, I still think they're a hell of a team going forward, Spurs.
They scored, don't they?
I
Score
think,
goals.
like, yeah.
Even Liverpool the other week, was it 6? They lost 6-3, didn't they?
Yeah,
But they still managed to score
Solanke,
3.
Maddison, Son, Johnson, Kulusevski. That's concerning. That's concerning. But, you know, I don't want to put a kibosh on it, but I was setting up our live blog for Sunday before, and they've lost 4 of the last 5 away from home. And I know Villa are in a similar boat. I think quite
conceded loads.
Yeah,
Conceded
yeah.
2, didn't they?
I think
2-1 was Arsenal.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
so
But he scored, though. I think that's
they
the thing.
scored.
Because I was going to go 1-0, but now that you've kind of like...
Can we win a game 4-3, 3-2? Just can't see it,
No.
but I'm going to say 2-1.
I'm also going to say 2-1.
Okay.
I'm really optimistic and I think Moyes will get his first win back in charge. But yeah, I agree with what Paul says, and I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet. But I think we'll get a win.
I'm going to stick with 1-0. I'm going to go with my gut, and it would be like
2004, 5 all over again, just winning games 1-0 every week.
a big thing, you know, if we were to keep a clean sheet and win the game, obviously. One final prediction, seeing as we were talking about heroes and talisman. Prediction, who's going to be Everton's talisman for the end of the season? I'm going to go first. McNeil. I think McNeil's going to do it.
I think this could be my heart ruling my head, but I think it'll be Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
I'll take that.
Yeah, I was thinking Calvert-Lewin as well. I think there was enough there on Wednesday to get chances, but if not him, hopefully a signing. Hopefully a signing like
Kevin Campbell style.
Yeah, we need someone who can lift the place, but it's so hard now, isn't it? Because you're talking about an experienced player who could probably handle that, or a fearless kid kind of thing. I hate to use him because everything he said about the club since he's left, but Anthony Gordon kind of did it, didn't he? You know, like when he came in, like, you know, it's either a fearless kid or an old head. It's like
I always remember Gordon, and like one thing, and obviously he's got a lot of, just quickly, I know he's got a lot of people who hammered him over the years, and some of the stuff he said he hasn't covered himself in glory. But I always remember he done an interview, the Lampard season when Lampard replaced Benitez, and it was about January, February time. No, about February, March time. And he got asked, and he said, you know, someone said, oh, you know, think about the relegation. And he just intercepted, he went, we're not going down. And then, like, the couple of reports, like, well, you are. And he's like, no, we won't go down. Like, we're going to stay up. Like, we're not going down. And I always remember that was so, look, don't get me wrong, that could have come back to haunt him if we had gone down. But it was just the confidence that he had, and he was like, no, like, I am not being part of a team that goes down. Like, we're not going down. And you just, you know, that bit of arrogance and that, you know, because it is an arrogance.
No, yeah, absolutely.
That bit of arrogance and confidence.
Richarlison had it, didn't he?
Can go a long way, can't it? And you know, you see some of the spirited performances that we put in under Lampard, and that probably explains why, because he probably was placed sitting there going like, I'm not getting relegated. Like, some of you might want to get relegated, but I'm not getting relegated. You just hope that same attitude and spirit's still in the squad.
On that as well, I think having Moyes will help, because I think reading what Joe's reported, that day to give up, Andy. There's just his comments, the performances. Hopefully Moyes could be that talisman as well, kind of off the field, because I know, like he said a few things after the game where, as you said, it was like the brutal reality of it all, but I still think he'll give us a bit more, like, you know, that kind of what he says.
I just think Calvert-Lewin gets one goal.
I think both of your shouts.
Then goes on a bit of a, as Gav Buckland says, on a Spurs of goal running.
Well, he does do. It's proven in his career. That's what he does.
And if he is to depart, there'd be no fit away from depart if he plays a key role in Everton.
Exactly.
And I think people have a lot different opinion of him. If he goes on a run between now and the end of the season, say he scores 10 goals, and we stay up, and you know, we largely because them 10 goals, and then he gets to the summer and he goes, I'm off, like I'm going to go to Newcastle or whatever. I think if he does that, having done what he hopefully will do, people have a lot different opinion of you than if he doesn't score now, you know, doesn't quite work out for him, And then it gets to the summer, everyone goes, well, he clearly gave up months ago, hadn't he? You know, I think you can really change the perception of how you're seen by supporters.
No, absolutely. He's also fighting for his own career, because if he's going to leave, he's going to have to try and find a club, and he's not.
I'm not being funny. If he does score 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 goals, he'll have to pick a club as well, won't he? Like, you know.
No, I agree. He takes a lot of criticism. However, if he becomes that person who scores the goals, I think it's probably best that he leaves anyway. Shake his hand and say, well done, Dominic.
I think for his own career, he probably needs to move on as well. Like, and I think we do as well.
Absolutely. Okay, well, that is all for today's Royal Blue podcast. Please remember to give us a like and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Drop us some 5-star reviews on Apple and Spotify. Most importantly, enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully, we'll enjoy our weekends, and particularly Sunday afternoon. I've been Ian Croll, joined by Paul Wheelock and Connor O'Neill, and this has been the Royal Blue podcast.